If you are looking to 3-star all of your trials challenges this week, I got you covered. It may even take you to the top of the leaderboard in your bracket. For almost all of the trials challenges, you're going to want to do them during a night raid. This is because it will double the total points that you receive for doing them during night raids. The first one we're going to do is destroy ticks, fireballs, and pops. A good place to do this quickly is in Metro Station on Buried City, again during a night raid. Navigate over to the Metro entrance that's near the library and go ahead and proceed down the stairs. Inside the stairwell, you will find a number of enemies between pops, fireballs, and/or ticks. So when you do find them, just eliminate them on your way, all the way down to the actual train itself. Once you get down to the very bottom, go ahead and call the train as if you were going to Esperanza, but you're not actually taking the train here, you're just using it to get across to the other side. On the other side, you're going to do the exact same thing. Make sure you go into both stairwells and clear out all the enemies that you can find, and in general, this should likely take you close to the 3-star score, if not past it. The enemies are a little bit random in terms of where they spawn and how they spawn, and if raiders have already been in the area, they may not be there. So if you do need to find a few extra enemies to stack up your score even higher, you can also then exit the metro station and go to the library, which is right outside of the stairs. Inside, you can find a few scattered enemies in here, but not too many, and that should definitely get you to your 3-star requirement. Go ahead and return to Speranza and then collect your rewards for 3-starring that challenge. Up next is search for supply drops. Again, doing this at night is actually a benefit to you because it will double the score of each of the drops, but additionally, it also just makes it easier to find these supply drops because of the light that appears above each of the radio towers. Since these supply drops are somewhat randomly placed around the map, you're going to want to look for the lights to figure out where each of the radio towers are. When you do call in a supply drop, it will shoot up a raider flare, which will look a little bit different than the normal flare. It will explode like a firework right at the end. So if along your way you see one of those going off, keep an eye in the sky for where that supply drop is going to come in, because you can loot it after the original raider that's called it in, and then use the same radio tower to call in your own, effectively doubling your points. When you find your radio tower beacon, the steps are really simple. Just make your way over to it and then interact with the radio at the base of the beacon. This will then cause you to shoot up a flare, which will start the supply drop process. Once the flare explodes, you have about 10 seconds before the supply drop comes in, and you will have to pay attention to where it drops, because it will not tell you otherwise. In this case, I hustled down the stairs to get to where the other supply drop was so I can see where mine lands and be able to collect them both at the same time. You will receive 1600 points every time you search a supply drop, so finding one that's already on the map and already opened is a really good use of your time and valuable overall. After that, it's just rinse and repeat until you search 3 total supply drops, and then once you have, that is enough to fully 3-star this challenge. Return to Speranza and collect your loot. For damaging Hornets, patrol within the eastern side of Buried City. I've outlined it here for where I patrolled. All you need to do is move yourself back and forth between the 2 ends of that outline. Doing so will give you a ton of opportunities to aggro snitches. Once they're aggroed to you and their light has turned red, they will call in a hornet and wasps to your location that you can eliminate from a safe place that you established before you aggroed them. You can even pull snitches in from further parts of the map simply by shooting at them once and allowing them to make their way over to you, which will bring those hornets and those wasps to your location. This will keep them safe and away from other enemies that could aggro to you. Remember that during night mode raids, the enemies are a bit more prone to aggro and help each other out if they find that they are in danger. So being on the outskirts of the map and pulling them to you out of sight is a great way to keep yourself safe and work through this challenge quickly. Stay as long as you possibly can and then get back to Speranza and collect your loot. For damaging ground-based arc enemies, you're going to want to make sure that you have a lot of grenades, a strong weapon like the anvil that has a high armor penetration value, a lot of ammo, a lot of healing before you start this. Once you're set up, you will want to go to a night raid on Dam Battlegrounds. Make your way over to the research and administration building and move all the way down along the western side of that building, right until the very end of it. You should by that point see spotters floating in the air just off to the left that are right by the bombardier that you're going to attack. Make your way behind the bombardier to a small little building that is right beside him. Do your best not to get spotted by a spotter on your way in, and if the bombardier doesn't know you're there, take the opportunity to open the door and throw as many grenades as you possibly can at the bombardier. Once one grenade attaches or explodes, he'll start to aggro and fire his cannons at you. At that point, make sure you keep that door closed, because with the door open, he can easily fire his missiles inside and do massive amounts of damage to you. The rest of the fight takes place inside this building. You're going to want to use the slats in the windows to fire your weapon out and deal damage to the bombardier. Make sure you don't stand too close to the windows, as you can take damage from explosions that hit the front of the building, and be aware that sometimes he can hit an absolutely perfect shot and his missile will go through the slats into the building and explode inside. So make sure you're healed up to the fullest at all times, heal yourself back up, and then just continue poking him with your weapon until he goes down. Make sure you collect any bombardier cells from him, as you will need those to upgrade one of your workstations later, and then proceed to the water treatment extraction area. There is a leaper that patrols this area over there. I'm gonna grab the leaper. And you're going to want to do the exact same thing with the leaper that you did with the bombardier. But in this case, you will need to put yourself at risk by pulling the leaper and then running into the building for safety. Shoot the leaper once and then haul it for the building that is right behind water treatment. And then once you're inside, you can leave one door open completely. It's totally safe. Just make sure that you stay fully inside the room, then use your grenades, use your explosives, and then your primary weapon to finish him off, just like you did with the bombardier. Once the leaper goes down, make sure you stop and grab the leaper pulse units from him, which will also be an epic item that you will need for your workstation. Once you've collected your loot, go ahead and extract back to Speranza and collect your loot from 3-starring that challenge. For searching first wave husks, you're going to want to find a map that has the husk graveyard event active. You actually can see in the picture of the event what you're looking for. It is a silver mechanical old school drone, much bigger than the drones that we're used to in current world. All you need to do is navigate around the map and search for those down drones, which will get you to your 3-star requirement. There are also smaller versions of the drones that are a little bit more silver and can be harder to spot, but both versions will give you 400 points. Some of them are electrified, which you will be able to visually see when you're breaching them, so make sure you do roll out of the way after you've completed your breach. Otherwise, you will take a bit of an electric shock, which will only stun you and not damage you. Once you've found 10 total, you can exit to Speranza and you will have 3-starred that challenge. And there you go. That is how you 3-star all of this week's challenges. Depending on how much further you go beyond just 3-starring, you may even be able to get yourself all the way to the top of your own leaderboard. That's going to be it for me today, y'all. Thanks for watching.